Hello and welcome to another Talking Dogs on a Monday. I'm joined, as always, by Barry Drake from his Y'all Hangout. And today, joining us from the Sporting Press is Jason Craddock. Of course, Jason, we're looking back on one of the, well, I suppose truly dominant Oaks performances of recent times. I thought going through the list that I wouldn't find too many that have won by 4.5 lengths over the last number of years. I didn't have to go too far. Kilmacdonough a couple of years back, but prior to that, it had been back to Skywalker Queen, who had won by 4.5 lengths herself. Susie Sapphire really took this race by the scruff of the neck, and I suppose it's what you want to see in a major final, that a race was won by something rather than something losing it. Susie Sapphire was truly brilliant.
Well, she came out of the traps like a scolded cat, but to be fair, she was about a 3-on chance to lead, and she did that. It was what happened behind, and everything went perfect for her behind. They all got in each other's way, but even if they hadn't, I think she was still, the 28.15 told you that she'd probably won the race on merit anyway.
Yeah, she did indeed. Barry, I know, there are people that like to go bang, wallop, away you go. There are people like myself that like to see the strong runners and dogs coming from off the back, but if you look at the profile of the Oaks through the years, it's generally crash, bang, wallop, away you go. This year's winner was certainly in that category. She's only November. She's potentially very special.
Yeah, she sure is. And in fairness, she's got better and better when she won the Puppy Oaks from track number 1 also. She posted a career best performance in that final. And once again, in the Oaks final on Saturday night, she posted a career best performance. She really likes the fence. She's 4 wins now from 4 attempts in track number 1, and it really was just bingo and away and gone. And one of the greatest performances we've ever seen in an Oaks final. 28.15. Obviously, look, the tracks are running, as well as they ever have been now in kind of recent times. But 28.15 was an unbelievable performance. With Ballymacbeanie last year, I think she posted 28.18, and the year before Kilmacdonough 28.17. So it was one of the great performances, and she's been outstandingly well handled by Owen McKenna. As I said, she's got better and better, and really was a joy to watch on Saturday night.
Yeah, Jason, 2 puppies in a row after winning the Oaks. Ballymacbeanie last year, Susie Sapphire this year. We thought Ballymacbeanie was a young winner of the Oaks. This lady won't be 2 years of age until November. The future really it's hers. Like she could go anywhere from here. They will give her a chance to come in season and hopefully come back a stronger bitch. That's a daunting prospect for those who are going to have to be facing her perhaps later in the year or even next year.
Oh yeah, you think something like the Laurels would be the ideal race for her, 5.25, not 5.50. I don't think she's suitable for 5.50, but she's the sort of bitch that in England you'd run around Oxford and Yarmouth and places like that, 500 yards. It'd be perfect for a long run up to get clear. But I mean, she looks a great prospect. November. I mean, it's 19 months old. She must be one of the best recent Oaks winners, certainly of that age.
When you actually look at it, she's bred to stay further. Alan or Jetstream Lynx, should I say? Well, she was Alan Lynx in her early days. For actually Owen McKenna, she had won over 750 yards. She's a 41.40 win on her card over 750 yards. Susie Sapphire, as we said, hoping that she will strengthen up. In victory, she became the 4th bitch to complete the Puppy Oaks and Oaks double in the last, I think it's back to 2009. We have the likes of Drubby's Twirl, Dalcash Davinsky, Ballydoyle Honey, and now Susie Sapphire. Why is it such a natural double, Barry? Like you very rarely see competitions offering up so many future winners of another competition, shall we say?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure it's really, obviously you've highlighted a couple that have done it there, but like it takes some doing, so that'll just tell you how good the bitch is to win the Puppy Oaks and then to go on and win this Oaks, 2 highly competitive events. And like it's great for Owen McKenna as well. Obviously last year with Pistana really brought him back to the top of the game, and it was unfortunate what happened, but Susie Sapphire has put him back on the map, and I'm sure they got a great kick out of it on Saturday night.
I'm sure they did. The Comerfords are, heavily involved in our sport for a long, long time, Jason. It's great to see Peter winning with Susie Sapphire. We know that they will breed her down the line, and that's a way off at the moment. But it is great to see the Oaks going to someone that's, involved in breeding, someone that's really entrenched in the game for so long. Peter Comerford is a true doggy man. We know that his daughter, Jeannie, like Susie Sapphire, is the apple of his eye. But it is great to see people like that winning.
Of course, and now just looking back, it's probably got 4 generations down the dam line the Comerford. So, you know, the great breeders of the sport have got a great success rate and great benefactors as well through sponsorship. So it's great to see people like that have success.
Yeah, looking at the race itself, lads, we'll start with the big two in the market, shall we say, Billy's Diva and Front of Manny. Susie Sapphire, as Jason's already alluded to, came away like a scalded cat. Billy's Diva not quite as fast from trap 2. The key to the race was perhaps the fact that Highview Magnet, the outsider of the party, flashed from trap 3. She went up second into the corner. Okay, she's 2.5 lengths behind Susie Sapphire, but she was just in the perfect spot to work as a buffer for those 50, 100 yards where Susie Sapphire, and it must be touched upon, she is the most incredible bend runner. You know, she went from being 2.5 clear to being sort of 5 clear approaching halfway. Billy's Diva was just looking for the same racing line as Highview Magnet. And that was, well, all the chance that Susie Sapphire needed, Barry. She just quickened up like a bitch that sort of almost sensed her opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. And it was like a race where for the other runners in the final, it was just happening a bit too quickly for them. As you said there, the Highview bitch turned in second and got in Billy's Diva's way, but I don't care. I think the race was over at that stage. And to go on and record 28:15, there was just no catching Susie Sapphire on the night. And, you know, there was just so much to like about the performance.
Yeah, down the back straight, Billy's Diva and Scooby Princess, and actually Ballyroyal Rossa was first nearly to make her move. She didn't get the run of the third bend. Scooby Princess went around the outside, but Billy's Diva and Scooby Princess, you know, you're pressing pause. I'm doing reports, and you're using your thumb to see how many lengths was in it at that point. It wasn't much more than 5 lengths at that third bend. Again, going back to the bend running, Scooby Princess and Billy's Diva seem to be closing relatively quickly then around the bottom 2 bends. But all of a sudden, Susie Sapphire, it was like Scalextrics watching her off that final turn. She stayed tight to the fence. She almost quickened again. She wins 4.5 lengths, so they didn't make up all that much ground on her, Jason.
They didn't. I mean, the time's there, and you forget she's only November, so she could improve. She could stay stronger. At the minute, she looks a Laurel's bitch. Who's to say she won't get 550? But the impression she gives you over most of her racing is that she's vulnerable to a fast finisher. But the fast finishers weren't close enough, and the bird had flown from the first bend.
Yeah, normally we'd be saying about an Oaks winner at this point in the year where you've mentioned the likes of the Laurels, especially a bitch with so much early speed or a potential Derby challenge or whatnot. This bitch is a puppy till November. You know, I dare say that the
Juvenile Derby is the one.
Juvenile Derby is on the agenda. And there could well be a situation where we've seen different years and different conditions attached to the National Puppy Stake. She could still be, you know, potentially qualifying for that if it's for November's this year. It has been November's for a few years over the years, but I think last year they might have moved it back to the December's. But, you know, in theory, this lady could be running in Puppy Company for the remainder of the year if they wish to go down that route.
Well, she couldn't, but I mean, you could even bang her in at Dundalk, that short run to the bend, out and gone, and round the bend while all the others are in trouble. I mean, you could take the chance there.
It'll be very interesting to see that, you know, if she doesn't come in season the next 3 or 4 weeks, do they start getting itchy feet and go, well, sure, we might as well have a race or two with her and see where she does end up. It is worth pointing out, you're right, Dundalk starts on the 16th of next month, which is, you know, 25, 26 days away. I suppose the fact that Owen McKenna does have a challenger for that in the shape of Droopy's Good might swing him elsewhere, but it's certainly an option, Barry.
Yeah, definitely. Look, they're in a good position now, aren't they, after winning 2 big events, so I'm sure they won't be in a rush to make any decision and just see how she gets on over the next couple of weeks, and they'll be taking it all in and enjoying it, no doubt. It's such a prestigious event, the Oaks, and you know, another really, really special event this year, and all 6 finalists certainly played their part over the last number of weeks. We had it all this year, and very fortunate really to be looking at such high-class racing and such high-class ladies in this year's event.
Yeah, we'll go down to the remainder of the field in a moment, but Jason, just briefly on the Oaks itself against Sporting Press, where, you know, they're leading the way as far as long-term sponsorship is concerned. The Oaks really is the perfect fit for the Sporting Press, isn't it?
Well, that's right. With the breeding and, you know, it's 30 years, I think, since the Sporting Press has been sponsoring, and it's a great competition. It's a lot of people want to win a Derby or an Oaks, so it's probably the second most sought-after race in the calendar.
as a nation of breeders and producers and people that are, involved in the grassroots of the sport, it has that special place in the heart, because it's generally about the breeders more so than any other competition.
Well, that's it. It's breeders more than anything. In England, they wouldn't be talking about breeding at all. In Ireland, everything's breeding. I'd love a pup off her, but every breeder wants to win a Derby or an Oaks. I ask people every week, we're on the profile, what race do you want to win? It's always Derby or an Oaks. It's never anything else, unless you live in Cork, of course, and when it's the Laurels.
Yeah, they just call it the race. We spoke last week with Frank Kieran about the actual 6 finals and the pedigrees on show. Like when you look at the dams in question, Jetstream Lynx, Mount Taylor Queen, JT Sahara, Ballymac Razzle, Rural Aloha, and Highview Idol, all 6 were top class racers. All 6 absolutely bred impeccably. It's any wonder that the Irish breeding really does stand up to the test of time. In a few years' time, we'll be looking at the likes of Susie, Sapphire, Scooby Princess, Billy's Diva, Ballylow Ross, the Front of Manny, and Highview Magnus. They'll all be throwing fast ones, you would imagine. Is it time that the English started buying 1 or 2 of these bitches to try and sort of get something going over there?
You can't buy them, Ian. You cannot buy them.
I was going to say, you're going to have to offer a blank checkbook or something. It's gone to that stage where just the pedigree in Ireland at the moment is so strong. Is that where the imbalance is happening?
I think it's not so much the imbalance happening. It's the racing's not really viable in England anymore, and the people aren't buying as many dogs. And there's been a depression, a recession, a pandemic, and a general decline in English interest in ownership. So, plus the prices have gone through the roof. So, it's not really viable.
Yeah, Barry, do you have any potential brood bitches down there in y'all that you have snuck away in the shed or something?
No, I wish I had. I've got a couple of pups all right to look forward to. Maybe early next year. But in terms of the English, look, we'll keep breeding them, and they can keep buying them.
Yeah, that seems to be the case for certainly in recent times. Just looking back to the remainder of the runners, Scooby Princess again ran an unbelievable race in defeat. It just didn't happen for her in the early yards. She took a bump off the second bend. But Barry, she very much in the the peak of her powers at present. I know she's one of the older finalists, but there's no question this lady could be a player in major competitions through the rest of the year.
Without a doubt. She never runs a bad race. Just such an honest and powerful greyhound. It's been an incredible journey for Scooby Princess and her connections. I see Jennifer O'Donnell posting a lovely post about Scooby Princess after finishing runner-up on Saturday night, and she was delighted with even finishing runner-up. So they'll be looking forward to Scooby Princess for the months ahead, and I'm sure we'll be talking about her for the months to come.
Yeah, Jason, she's one that'll stay 550 yards. She does stay 5'7" or 550 yards. She'd stay further, no question about that. What sort of route would you be taking with her?
Well, she's a Derby bitch, definitely. I think she got to the semi-finals last year and surprised a few, so she's definitely a Derby bitch, no question.
Billy's Diva is certainly a Derby bitch, but Jason, she's been beaten in 3 major finals now. I'd say they just get to the point where they're starting to bang their heads off the wall. This lady deserves a big one. It just hasn't come yet. And, considering the company she'll be keeping for the remainder of the year, she might struggle to win a big one.
She just, for me, she's pretty much a front runner. She's a strong front runner, but she's not the best at coming from behind. And, she's got to several finals, National Puppy, Easter Cup, Open 600, and now the Oaks. She's knocking on the door. It might open one of the days.
Yeah, it might do. You still wouldn't mind her, Barry. She's a very talented lady, very special lady, in fact, Billy's Diva.
Yeah, she sure is. It's so hard not to win these big events. At the end of the day, there's only one greyhound can win. And, at the moment, so many talented greyhounds in these competitions. Every competition that you rock up to, there's 5, 6, 7 potential winners. So it's not as straightforward as getting to the final. But look, she's a fabulous bitch, and there'll be more great days ahead for sure.
Yeah, given the stock they've been producing over the last year or two, I wouldn't be too worried for the Kennedys. They'll have plenty of big race success. They have 2 or 3 others there at the moment that are more than capable of winning a big one, including Billy's Diva, of course. Ballydoyle Rossa, she's a bitch where 525 was always going to be too sharp for her. Barry, you know an awful lot about her. She did again show plenty of pace into that third bend tonight, got held up in a run. But she's the sort you could campaign against the dogs as well.
without a doubt. I'd expect her to line up in the Irish Greyhound Derby this year, all going well. 550 is probably as short as she wants, but another, superstar when things fall right for her and she puts it all together, she's capable of breaking the clock at any track.
Yeah, Frontomani is the one you're going to be talking about, Jason. An easy one to talk about. There's no question about it. She's absolutely exceptionally fast. Again, we'll forget about her run the other night. She missed a kick. She was forced to check in her stride, and she never really got into full stride at all. But you would imagine that this could be the last time we'll see her 5.25 for a while. She's crying out for a step up and trip.
Well, she's another Derby bitch, but it's just a shame that the Conquer Cullen isn't a few weeks later, because Ballydoyle Rossa would be maybe a contender, and Frontomani could well turn out to be a contender.
And funny, someone asked me the other night what they consider with Scooby Princess. I suppose the key is, when they are getting towards their back end of their career, do you take the chance? And, some people are worried about running them over 750 as regards sort of future breeding prospects and whatnot. Now, we won an Oaks with a bitch called Cool Survivor, and she went on to win the National 750. She threw a few good ones as well, including an Oaks winner, Born a Survivor. So it's not something I'd be too concerned about, but I can see why people are a bit concerned, Jason.
Yeah, there's a sort of tradition. You don't breed with stayers or marathon bitches, and that, it's an old wife tale, really. But, some breeders will and some won't. But they think it sort of detracts from their best form over 550, and it'll put people off. But Frontomani and Ballydoyle Rossa both look six-pen bitches for me.
Yeah, I don't think they'll go down that route just yet.
Oh, no, I don't.
No, I'd say they'll have a crack at the Derby, or it wouldn't be surprised if they rocked up in the likes of the Champion Stakes. And you never know, they might even chance their arm trying to get into Dundalk, depending on what entries they receive for that. One-off race for I don't know what it's worth this year, probably 12 or 15,000. You could see one or two of them chancing their arm for the Dundalk International.
I'd rather put Susie Sapphire in a Dundalk and leave the other two. It's a front runners railers track, Dundalk, at those 550 boxes, and I prefer to go round in front than behind.
I'd be amazed if Jennifer O'Donnell doesn't try Dundalk International. Her father was, every year he'd find something to try and get them into Dundalk. I think he brought Farlow Melody back twice to try and get him into the Dundalk International. So I just wouldn't be surprised now if Scooby Princess was to make that move.
Well, Scooby Princess, if you look at every heat she ran, she was nearly first out the boxes in most of the heat. She is capable of trapping.
But it's that run into the corner where she just gets a little bit lost.
Yeah, exactly.
So in the 550, she had more time to sort herself out. The last one is Highview Magnet. She was the lightly race runner in the field. She played her part in the Oaks final. You can't question that. She ends up finishing last, but that doesn't reflect how well she ran. She was forced to check up at the third bend. The Merrymans will have no doubt have plenty of fun with this lady, but her future is probably in the breeding paddocks. They have been prolific breeders of top class racers for the years. Jason, and Highview Magnet is another that could add to their line.
She's very inexperienced, so who's to say she won't improve as well? She's only had 8 or 9 races now. So, there would have been very popular winners, the Merrymans, but like you say, it's the breeding they've got more interest in.
Yeah, indeed. A Great Oaks, Susie Sapphire will be remembered for grabbing it by the scruff of the neck, Barry. One that we'll reflect on in years to come and say, wow, do you remember that one? She was a pretty special lady.
Yeah, we'll have fond memories of this year's event for sure, and it was great to see such a stunning performance in the final. Game over very early on.
We've had enough, Barry. There he's back.
And, she's rich that will have been ahead for sure, and exciting times ahead. Yeah, exciting times ahead, and for Susie Sapphire, Owen McKenna, and Comerfords.
Yeah, the coverage is not great down in y'all at the moment, Barry. Must be heavy wind conditions or something like that. Jason, Susie Sapphire, just a final word on her. Again, we've said it. She's a very, very bright prospect. The future, could provide anything with her, but she is an Oaks champion. No one can take that away from her.
Oh no, I suppose connection to be open. She breaks down and they can come back and do what Ballymacbeanie didn't do this year and defend. And at November, she's got plenty of chance to do that.
Yeah, if she remains as sharp as she is and she does strengthen up, well, you know, anything could be said. At just one point there, Barry was mentioned about the track was flying the other night, and you know, has been very quick over the last year or two. I don't think it was as fast on Saturday night as it has been over, you know, the last 6 or 8 months. And I just wouldn't be surprised in a normal night if she did do a 28-second run. So just keep that in mind. It certainly wouldn't surprise me if she did 28 seconds in the future. We're going to look now at the other major competition that happened on Saturday night here in Ireland, and it was a further glowing sort of assessment of Explosive Boy's talents. He's a greyhound that he was top class over 525 yards, don't get me wrong, but I think this 550 yards is really going to add to his chances of landing a big one, because obviously so many more competitions are over 550 these days, but it does really play to his strengths, the longer run to the corner. And by all accounts, he's getting to that winning line, Barry. He looks all over a real Derby contender.
Without a doubt, he's one of the best dogs in the country now at the moment. He's competed at all the big competitions over the last couple of months. He's starred in all the competitions, so many wonderful displays. And Tralee, the 2 performances in Tralee were incredible. And his trapping ability when he gets it right. He was only gone 2 strides on Saturday night in that final, and he was already a length clear. He's 3-4 in front going into the bend. The clocks that he produced down in Tralee were, you know, some of the best clocks we've ever seen. Obviously, he broke the track record in the semi-final, but he really is the full package now at the moment. And Patrick Guilfoyle will certainly have high hopes for him for the upcoming Irish Greyhound Derby. I think he's going to take in maybe Dundalk as well along the way. But, you know, it was just another marvellous performance on Saturday night. And, you know, in fairness to the dog in second, the Butsy's dog, he ran a cracker in the feet as well. But it was really all about Explosive Boy. And it's a great name as well, isn't it? Because he's just so explosive.
Yeah, Jason, Explosive Boy, he's the dog that's absolutely flying at present. He's always been a top-class greyhound, but as I said, the 550 yards seems to be making up that longer run to the corner. Added to his unbelievable trapping ability, it's a potent weapon.
When he comes out, he wins, and when he doesn't, he doesn't win. But he's definitely going to be a favourite for the Dundalk International. You know, he can run. He's won from 6, 5, 1, probably most traps. He's very versatile. He just needs to keep coming away like that, and is sensational.
Yeah, like when the draw was made for the final, I know he was an inside seed racing from Trap 5, but it is worth pointing out that in the early rounds of the Clonmel Produce Stakes, they had put a wide on him, so they're not too concerned by the draw either.
No, but I thought that was madness, to be honest, putting a wide on him. It nearly cost them. He was on the floor at the bend and did well to qualify.
Yeah.
It's not a wide, but if he can, he'll run from wide if he has to, but he is definitely not a wide. He's going to come flying across to the rails at the first bend and hope is clear.
After 2 major wins this year and, you know, being hot favourite to win the Kirby, he's an absolute guaranteed entrant in the Dundalk International. There's nobody going to tell him he's not getting into the lineup. You know, as you said, Jason, he'll take some stopping in that, but he does look, you know, all over a real Derby contender. He'd certainly be in your top 2 or 3, I'd imagine.
Well, definitely. And he'd be well suited to Toaster as well.
Yeah, I was going to say
as long as he didn't get trap 1, of course.
Yeah, funny enough, didn't worry Dearjet City the other day. I have a feeling he's one of the dogs that wouldn't be too concerned by trap 1.
I know. I think I wouldn't. The first thing I'd do is scrap those traps and start again, because the Derby, when the main talking point is the traps and not the dogs, there's a problem.
Yeah, we'll get back to that in a few minutes. Barry, Explosive Boy, his profile is very similar to New Win Taylor in a sense where, you know, he had won the Produce Stakes. We'd known he was really explosive, early speed. You know, the 550 was the concern. He made the step to 550 a fraction earlier than New Win Taylor, who did in the opening round of the Derby last year. This fellow has had his couple of looks now around Tralee over 550 yards. It was notable that Butsy's Bengal did close to the final bend of the night, but Explosive Boy kicked on a bit up the home straight. You're not going to say he's a stout stayer, but he certainly rolls all the way to the winning line, which is probably more than enough given the fact that Shelbourne Park will be bouncing come the end of the year, sort of August, September time. And if you do get 525 well, you'll get the 550. Well,
if you can post 28.10 and post 28.20, you'll stay at a 550. Look, we've been talking about dogs. Will they stay at 550 over the last couple of years? And, you know, it's no concern anymore. Last year it was Castana. You know, every year there's a ground. They're all staying it now, as I said, when they can post 28.20. And as Jason pointed out there, he's probably going to start as favourite for the Irish Greyhound Derby. and you couldn't put off anyone backing him for that event.
Yeah, mightn't just now be as cut and dry about starting the favourites. There's a few over in England at the moment that might have claims for that yet. But yeah, great to look forward to Explosive Boy. First at Dundalk and then, of course, at Shelbourne Park. Now, Jason, we have already touched upon it, Toaster. I suppose the great frustration is for those watching at home is that some nights it runs a certain way, other nights it runs in a different way. We have no problem with tracks having certain quirks and certain, different, ways and means about them. But when it changes every night, it keeps the punters guessing, and punters don't like to guess.
Well, I think the problem may lay with the track draining out too quick. So they're forever putting the Bowser on. So maybe there's a bit of false ground, heavy ground, soft ground, and who knows how it's going to be until you watch a few races. Then stick the Bowser around again and again. So, it's a strange place, Toaster.
Yeah, it's definitely an improved version of Toaster. And as you said, if you did throw out those traps and have, okay, granted, we'll always say there are traps in certain tracks which are the bingo box or where dogs will be favoured to the inside or the outside. That could be the case in Shelbourne Park, Youghal, Tralee, Sunderland, wherever. But in Toaster, it's the fact that it is moving around, Barry, that does cause the frustration. At the same time, the cream sort of is rising to the top. We've lost a few big names. Unfortunately, Native Maestro seemed to go wrong the other night. We have to follow up that in the next day or two. But by and large, the best dogs are progressing.
Yeah, they sure are. Look, it's obviously just a pity that, there's so much negativity and stuff towards Toaster, because I think everyone wants Toaster to work. It's great to have such a fabulous place, but obviously, hopefully, they'll be able to address the problems going forward. But in terms of the Irish challengers, yes, the cream's rising to the top. I'm sure Pat Buckley will be very happy with his weekend's work with Dearjet Sydney overcoming what looked a tricky draw in track number 1. I think all the layers were out to get him late on and knocked the bull Sid as well. I thought that was a good tactic from Pat Buckley to change his seeding, because he really flashed the traps on Saturday night. And they're probably towards the top of the betting now, but they're going to take plenty of stopping in this competition.
Yeah, Jason, from a racing point of view, well, we do have our frustrations about the track. There have been some fine displays throughout, and it really is turning into a fairly hot competition. We're down to the last 24. Obviously, there was no room for error last Saturday night. This Saturday night will definitely be no room for error. It'll be fastest finger first job.
Exactly, and the first round was the Irish sort of dominated. The second round was the English fight back, Bucco's Belly, Roxholm Shake. And then it was 4-4, I think, last week. So it's a fascinating competition and wide open.
Yeah, wide open indeed. Of the UK contingent, where do you see the best chance of a home victory?
Well, if he's on form, Bucco's Belly looks a great dog. And there's a few up-and-coming dogs as well.
The Thorn Falcons of this world, that sort of...
Thorn Falcon,
Signet Ace.
Sinus Ace, yeah, he's drawn in track 1 inside Ballymac Wild. If Sinus Ace comes out in his usual style, he won't do him any favours, which could favour Knocknable Sid in track 4 in the last heat. Adele's Duke, he's a great kidder, that dog. He gets to the front and nothing comes past him. So
Jason, I saw him. He won his debut in Clonmel. He came to Shelbourne Park for 4 races, and I had heard they paid big money for him, and I went, I'm afraid that's money wasted. He then sort of improved his form a little bit later on when he moved away from Shelbourne. But since he's gone to Leaf Field, this dog has taken off. He's been, in fairness to him, he is running out of his skin.
He's underrated. He keeps being a big price every night, and people keep thinking he'll get beat, and he keeps pulling a bit more out. It's like he's got Lester Piggott on him.
Yeah, in the drive position.
Exactly. Not too far, son. Not too far.
Yeah. He's 2 lengths clear coming off Tottenham corner, Barry, and Lester Pickett's doing the drive on him. You're quite friendly with Leaf Field. You've had a few dealings with him. He's doing a fair job with this dog.
Yeah, he sure is. Yeah, nice fella, doing very well. Talking to him on Twitter now and again. I was counting my money actually going down the back straight that race the other night. I was after having a few quid on Fawn Rebel there at fancy price, and I was nearly shouting aye, but no, kept finding in front and still in the competition. So there was a chance.
Yeah,
and he's one of 3 unbeaten as well.
Yeah, he is. After, of course, Dearjet Sydney, who, in fairness, is just what you'd say, plotting his way through this competition. He's been very impressive the last 2 nights. The first night he had to wait for gaps, and it arrived with a bit of luck off the second bend. But by all accounts, Jason, he's going to take some stopping in his defence of this Derby if things continue to go as they are.
Well, it's a bit like Explosive Boy in the Produce Stakes. It could have all gone wrong in the first round. It could have been on the floor, and Dear Jet Sydney could have been on the floor in the first round. But you'd say he's coming to the boil nicely now. He's got trap 3, but he's got early pace inside him next week. He's got Forest Gold and Toolmaker Sydney, who's as fast as anything on his day. It's just getting him out those traps.
He seems to be handling those traps better than the ones in Ireland. I think it's the fact that, the hare is gone past the boxes before they open in the UK, whereas in Ireland it seems to open a bit earlier. It's more for instinctive starters. Because he's after producing probably the 2 or 3 best starts of his career in Toaster. I know he didn't lead the other night, but he was still prominent into the corner, which is something that can't always be said for him and his runs around Shelbourne Park. And given his age profile, he really shouldn't be improving all that much in the trapping department. Is it just down to basically the mechanisms over in England, I wonder?
Maybe, but in Ireland, they take the hare past 100 miles an hour and the trip is well behind the traps. In England, they take the hare round slower, and the trip is generally level with the traps. So they open 11 metres when the hare is 11 metres in front of the box. That's the rule. And it's just different. But the traps, I think those traps used to be the old staying traps at Peterborough, the old sprint and sixpence traps. Yeah. No one likes these traps in England. Same at Perry Bar. They took them out at Romford. They took them out at Monmore. You've still got them in Ireland. No one wants trap 1 at any of those traps.
Yeah, they did. They added an extra ram in some of the ones in Ireland.
Exactly.
So rather than coming up the middle where it used to, I think there's 2 rams now. It's sort of more spread across.
They did that at Shelbourne Park,
and they also strengthened up the bottom bar with them sort of added
to stop them wobbling.
Yeah, because they were very wobbly. Now they are much better than the traps they had in Toaster prior to May 1st, when they literally looked like they were made from tinfoil and matchsticks.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, I think they might have been old Coventry traps or something, they'd got them from somewhere, but I'm sure the management at Toaster will sort it all out for next year, because they've only been up and running for a few months, but it's a learning curve for them, and I'm sure they'll rise to the occasion.
Yeah, the one thing you can't say about Toaster is they are certainly proactive. Anytime any problem has come up, and they've tried their very best to address it. Now, as it is, they're doing it on the fly at present. Things are so strange over in the UK and Ireland at present, given, current pandemic situations and whatnot. But they have definitely been proactive. They've done everything in their power to sort out any problem that has arisen.
Oh, yeah. I think they're forward-thinking management, and they're ambitious, and they will get things right. They've got the right place. They've got Nathan from Nottingham who's trying to guide them a little bit, and, they will get there in the end.
Meanwhile, Barry, we're still hoping for an Irish Train winner. Some are going to get it in the neck more than others if they don't win it. I'm not naming any names, but I'm going to be in trouble if they don't. But all going to plan. I was just looking through the quarterfinal draw this morning, and if the betting for the heats is anything to go by, Ireland will have 9 of the 12 semi-finalists. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that would be nice.
They'd be in a good position then, wouldn't they, Team Ireland? And just in terms of, Dear Jet Sydney, obviously he's one of the favourites now for Outright Glory, but this year I think he's a better dog, a stronger dog. So what does that mean?
Yeah, well, hopefully. A couple I want to mention to you as well. The Machine and Beach Avenue, the 2 massive finishers in Ireland, they're still there. They probably haven't produced their very, very best, but they've been showing glimpses. As the competition gets hotter, are they more likely to get a run in behind runners? And do you think they'll make the final? Barry.
The question. Oh, yeah. Do I think they'll make the final? They'll be very hard to knock out any. Obviously, look, the competition is getting tougher now at this stage, and I don't think Toaster plays to their strengths in it for sure. And to be honest with you, I thought they might have struggled to make a big impact. But obviously, look, they're in the quarterfinals. It's going to be tough. One of them will probably make the final, and one of them will probably get knocked out. But we have to touch on Unlock as well. I think she's a fabulous bitch after her litter of pups and all. She's great to watch, and the matches as well. They have strong claims as well. So look, it's hard to play for.
Yeah, those three big finishers. Of course, it was remiss of me not to mention Unlock, especially given the fact that she's had the litter of pups and how talented a youngster she was, Jason. The big finishers probably not playing as big a part as we had hoped, but at the same time, they are sneaking through. The problem is if they all meet in one heat, they can't all go through.
Exactly. Beach Avenue was desperate the other night. He ran straight up the backside of the leader or the second dog on the top bend and got beat narrowly. He was desperate. Unlock is the widest runner in the Derby and looks destined for a clear run. So you'd probably say that one has more chance of qualifying than anything. The problem with Toaster is, a bit like Sheffield, all the dogs run within 4 foot of the inside rail on the bends. So they're not getting in trouble, but they're just caught jostling. They can't get moving. And while they're messing around, the leader's gone. And that's, you have a look how many times the leader of the first band has won in the Derby. It's it must be 80-90%.
Unless you turn first or second, you really are struggling to maintain your momentum throughout the whole 500 meters.
Exactly. And in contrast to Nottingham, we can come from off the pace, and there's a long run home.
Yeah, Nottingham really did play to the Irish dog strengths, of course. It's certainly the profile of dogs we have been bringing in all sense. If we had the same team this year at Nottingham, shall we say, I'd imagine we'd nearly have the trophy in the bag at present, because they just are that type of greyhound. All the team, especially those we've just mentioned, Beach Avenue, The Machine, Unlock, they'd be suited down to the ground by Nottingham.
Exactly, but the long run in, and it's quite similar to Shelbourne as well, Nottingham. Very similar radius bends, long straights. So it plays to a lot of the Irish strength.
So we're going to put you on the spot now, lads. What's going to win the English Derby, Barry? Firstly, you can give me your most likely winner, and you can give me one of perhaps the outsiders that just might catch the eye or might go a bit further than the prices suggest.
Well, I think I said on the podcast here at the start there that in the Unlock the Bulls did, so I'm not going to be swapping them now for sure. But look, I can see Unlock making the final, and wouldn't it be some fairy tale story if she was to win the final?
Absolutely. Jason?
It's wide open, so I'd probably go for Ballymac Fair One, even though he's got drawn in trap one in the quarter final. I think he could improve. He's very young, very inexperienced. And he's trained just down the road from me at Hotel Harnden in Ruddington, Nottingham.
I hope Liam is providing him with earplugs, because Peter and Big Mark would talk the weights off a clock. I'd say the dog is just absolutely punch drunk at this stage.
Exactly. I think Liam's got the earmuffs on anyway.
Ballymac Fair One's actually a dog we really should mention. He missed the kick the other night. He showed good determination, speed, track craft, but it was when it opened up off the second bend, like the Drunk Row Brent dog didn't slow. Ballymac Fair One left him standing for those matter of 20-30 strides. He's a dog that really seems to have something. Jason, you've spotted him, but there's a lot to like about him.
He just needs to be put in the ping box 3 or 4. And I think he'll come out, and it might just take some catching. But it's wide open, very open dog.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'd like to point out that we all picked Irish Greyhounds. Well, I haven't picked anything yet. I'm going to be cute enough and just say, listen, Deirdre Sidney or Knocknabull Sid, of the outsiders, I think Beach Avenue will be in the final. And I just get that sense where I think he's really just improving that bit. I think he's getting to grips with the place. And, I can't help but think back to his Easter Cup and Shelbourne Open 600 defeats, and just remember the pace he showed in those occasions. And I just hope that, in the final, if it's cleanly enough run race and we have 3 or 4 dogs setting a strong gallop up front, they can't all sort of get loose, that something like Beach Avenue will arrive late and fast, and you never know. He might just go very close to winning the English Derby. But so much more going to happen in that over the next few weeks, and we look forward to July 11th. And hopefully, as we've said, an Irish trained winner. But that's it for the season. Go ahead, Barry.
One performance is of note that some people might have missed over the course of the weekend, but Dennis Linehan's solicitors on race day got underway below in Curraheen Park on Saturday.
Sorry, that was remiss of me. I actually did mean to come to you about that, Barry. Sorry, we even mentioned it all fair.
We did.
There was a fine display by the Mark O'Donovan trained greyhound. He looks a hell of a dog, but there was a couple of others as well.
Yeah, look, as I said, it's always a fabulous event. We see it last year in the final. I think it was Deadly Destroyer who won it for Carol Ramsbottom, and Ballymac Cashout finished second. But a dog who I've been hearing glowing reports about, Jomana Bucko, over the last 2 or 3 months. He was qualified around Youghal. He was trained by a young trainer who recently took out his license, Garrod O'Brien, and qualified, I think, at 29:38 around Youghal. And, you know, people started to ring the Youghal track. There was plenty of interest. I think young Garrod and his father, Gerald, had a couple of arguments over selling the dog, and Garrod didn't want to sell, wasn't for sale, brought him to Kilkenny. They were going to go for the unrace there. He qualified in 28:88. And there was a big offer came in, and I think that sealed the deal. He went to Mark O'Donovan's, and you know, if you haven't watched that performance from Saturday night, one way and watch it. Tremaine and Bucko, another rising star for the kennel of Mark O'Donovan. It was 28-22 on the clock. This fella has gone.
Was he renamed, or was he always Tremaine Bucko?
No, it was always Tremaine Bucko. The O'Briens there in Cappoquin, West Waterford. Tremaine, married down by Villarstown, famous John Tracy. They used the prefix Tremaine, and Garrod featured recently in the RTE News there one night. There was a lovely little piece about him with all these greyhounds and stuff like that there a couple of weeks ago. And I know, look, as I said, there was a few arguments to were they going to sell him, and they sold him. And I think it was great to see what he done on Saturday night.
Yeah, I asked the question because obviously Bucko's, you know, David Buckley, I thought might have got involved. That's what he calls his dog, Bucko's. And I could be wrong. Did Mike Banderack, who owns the dog, did he buy a dog off David Buckley? Did he get to a Derby final a few years ago? I could be wrong now. I could be completely wrong. But Mike Banderack did have a Derby finalist. Do you know Mike himself, Jason? He's been involved. He's been involved in some fast greyhounds over the years. He
was always Birmingham, Wolverhampton based, and had dogs on Monmore for a long time. His wife Alison used to be a big shot in the rehoming greyhounds in the West Midlands.
I believe she's still involved.
Did a lot of sterling work.
Yeah. No, he's very fast greyhound. So we could see another potential star coming out of this competition this year, Barry. Of course, we've seen a few over the years.
Yeah, we sure have. And another one that kind of started his racing career with his trials around the Isle. So I hope I'll be shouting about him for the next year or two.
Good man. We must mention the Treaty Cup is also coming to a close on Saturday night. Jason, Shelbourne and Nate was the star the other night. He's going to take a bit of stopping in the final if he hits the lids.
He is, but Skylight Blake won from track one the other night, and he's got track one again, so that's a danger.
Yeah, the Greyhound Jet dog, I think he's capable of better than he has shown around Limerick as well. He might be just getting the grips of the boxes. If he hits the lids, he can run too.
Well, he did. I think that's the one that did 18:46 before the event got underway.
Yeah, and then he had the 17:20 odd around Tralee.
17:28 in Tralee, so he's in track 6, I believe, and plenty of chance.
Yeah, looks like a hot competition. But that's it. Any other business now, Barry, before I leave you?
I'll just tell you one good one before we finish up. I was in Youghal there about 2 weeks ago, and Nicholas Walsh, who was the trainer of Skylight Blake, he said to me, "Here, take this phone." He said, "You might record this trial." So I thought it was a little pup or something starting off, but it was Skylight Blake, and let's just say he went very, 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 very quick. So I'll be shouting him on.
It's no surprise. It's no surprise to see very quick dogs doing very quick times. That's the aim of the business, isn't it, Jason? To get a fast one to do fast times.
Exactly. And you was talking about the Kennedys earlier, and I had to laugh because every time you speak to an Irish fellow about a dog, and he'll say, "I've got a better one at home." But in the case of the Kennedys, you know he has.
He's about four faster ones at home.
Exactly.
Listen, that's it for another day on Talking Dogs TV, or on Talking Dogs on a Monday. Again, my thanks to Barry as always, and to Jason. Jason, don't be a stranger. We'll have you on soon again here on Talking Dogs on a Monday. But that's it for us. We'll see you next time.